Every one of us could probably use a private space that's all our own. A refuge secreted away from the clamor and the distraction. A place where we can feel at peace, inspired and enabled, nourished and restored. It's meant to be a place apart, such that stepping through its door is like passing through a veil into an alternate dimension. It might appear nerdy, clinical and austere with white walls and a bare floor, or alternately, it could be deeply hued with nary a single blank spot on the wall. It could be a warmly carpeted nook displaying the things that mean the most to us personally, deliciously decorated so as to evoke the feel of a fantasy cottage or an enchanted realm. Inevitably one lined with the many books and the many tools of our personal healing craft. Now in this episode, I hope to make a case for dedicating, equipping, and beautifying your personal healer's inner sanctum, while taking you into my home for a visual tour of my particular herbal-hearted refuge and Wolfson lair. As ever, I can't reach a wider audience without your pressing of that like button, leaving your valued thoughts in the comments, and sharing the video links on your social. I thank you. Now, I've always had some place that I could go to be most myself, be that in a childhood room or some hideout in the bushes. As a young teen, I moved into my parents' garage, actually, where I hung up blankets and tapestries for seclusion, set up my artist's easel, and arranged psychedelic blacklight posters above the old mattress that I slept on. For years, I lived in a converted antique school bus with an interior that looked like Merlin's den, yet remained rather ordinary appearing on the outside so as not to attract the police to a forever illegally parked camper. Then, after buying the land that became this animus sanctuary, I clumsily constructed the primitive wood cabins that would serve as my sanctum going forward. As it was with that stealth school bus, the rare house guest today sees a rather rough and ordinary exterior when they first approach, before being truly surprised by what is anything but typical wonders nesting inside. Now herein lies the security of my redoubt, the pantry for my medicines and the environs for my healing, the symbolic soil in which I plant myself and the vehicle of my purpose. It's where I've squirreled away whenever I needed some space in a relationship, and when I've got no loving partner like now, it's where I instinctively go to feel a little less alone. Having an expressive and personalized space has inarguably provided a hugely needed calmness whenever I've skirted the edges of problematic anxiety. It's provided clarity and energy whenever there have been things to figure out or projects to create. Concepts and options tend to make more sense within its shelter, and everything that I imagine seems more lovely once viewed from its perspective. It's where my mission feels encouraged, where my medicine is fed, and my foolishness best revealed to me. It's where my skills seem infinitely improvable, and almost nothing comes across as impossible. Having a dedicated sanctum has proven to aid nearly everything that I am and everything that I do. And it's a blessing that I can't help but wish for you, too. It can be not only your place to get away and intensely be, but also where you go to create and manifest, a place where you dare and do. Consider it a veritable laboratory of possibilities, perhaps featuring an old oaken table for your experiments and creations. It can function as a dedicated space for medicine making or simply for your uninterrupted ponderings and reformulations. Or as a studio where you not only work on your herbalist-related tasks, but where you smilingly respond to the urge to sketch some new plant that you just met, where you fasten tufts of moss to a to a tiny fairy house intended to dress your yard, or will you unself-consciously sing along to loud tribal music and transportive forest core? Your herbalist's inner dominion can be a wondrous place indeed, filled by you with secrets informed by a life spent partly out of doors and partly in the ever-expanding diorama of your mind. While it can be a long ways from your house to the nearest forest or the closest herbarium, your personal sanctum can be appointed so as to evoke the look and the feel of the wild greens abode. Decorating it however you like, with dried herbs, with twisting roots, and with found driftwood, with beautiful Ganoderma mushrooms and pine-scented pillows. It can be close at hand, the setting for spiritual reconnection, for focused ritual and displays of our gratitude. As with a wizard's mythical Sanctus Sanctorum, you can think of your own special space as a library of tales waiting to be told, illustrated with an assortment of curiosity-stirring objects and character-revealing art. Whether housed in a quaint garden cottage apart from the rest of your domicile, covered with a dangling mantle of useful vines, or simply a purposed back room of what is an otherwise indistinguishable apartment. In every case, entering it can be like tumbling into the white hare's hole, leading to some incredible new Oz. Even without the transportive allure and amour of lit candles, the tones in any room are likely to appear strangely different, as even the most artificial of white light waves are absorbed, refracted, and reflected, tinted and toned, touched and transformed by all that they fall upon, by the walls full of earth-hued items and the shelves of leafy, soil and sky-colored glass. The sparse and the predictable decorations of the other rooms or buildings is going to drop away to reveal here a more richer and a more suggestive world. A balance of necessities and tools and embellishments that together are emblematic of its inhabitants' character and interests, designed and maintained not for occasional visitors, but for its creator and its primary inhabitant. It's beheld only by the trusted and the most allied, and just maybe witnessed by the unrestrained child, sneaking a peek at its rumored treasures and its gallery of mysteries. Arrayed or draped upon tables and in cabinet drawers could be a mix of diagnostic, therapeutic, and culinary instruments, an antique brass and wood scale for measuring small quantities of precious herbs, or a vintage Ojos triple beam for weighing those larger quantities. Next to an iron tincture press for extruding medicine from forthcoming leaves. Magnifying glasses of various shapes and sizes, some being handheld antiques with exaggerated lenses and onyx handles. Others perhaps on modern tripods, or extending from metal goosenecks like long-necked birds, leaning over the object or the prey. A microscope perhaps, either a leather-skinned brass anachronism or an up-to-date stereo version for the very closest examinations of plant structures, the psychedelic patterns of bug wings or indications in affected blood. Nearby might be something like a plaster sculpture of the Venus of Willendorf, or perhaps like Oberon Zell's fecundant Gaia, sporting dragonflies and flowers in her hair, maybe even a macabre skeletal mariachi band, courtesy of a Santa Fe yard sale during an annual Dios de los Muertos celebration. On the desk, perhaps a beer stein with an oak motif, requisitioned by the muse and festooned with an odd pairing of herbal measuring spoons and round, flat, and pointed brushes made of wickedly supple sable and paint-wicking camel hair. Furnishings are something that could be old, whether that means intricately carved or else just plain Goodwill finds, and most likely you'll pick ones made of natural materials. Cloth abounds in this place of yours, this place of textures, in the curtains and the throws, in decorative weaves of wool and rayon, cotton and silk. Your cabinets may feature a cloister of fired clay containers, of virtual cauldrons of possibilities that, just like Pandora's box, tease the adventurer to open them up and chance the ingredients inside. Row after row of bark brown and cobalt blue tincture bottles are topped with rubber droppers. Mason jars beckon us with a glint, beckon us to their treasures of Gallium aparina and Passiflora incarnata. There are mortars and pestles here and there, wherein the hopes and the glories of the botanical world are ground into blended remedies as a powerful and just as nuanced as an alchemist's potion of old. A computer might sit adorned with stickers from a favorite apothecary, its screen displaying the latest research of interest. And next to it might sit a bronze statue, such as mine, of a Viking, his shield a thistle brooch, and his sword replaced with a golden rose. Archaic books on everything from herbs to spirituality and beekeeping share shelf space beneath shadow boxes with gathered bones and stones, desiccated reishi, and trippy-looking seeds. On the wall above, you'll see on my wall a green man mask, dressed up in feathers and flowers, an ancient plant fossil in sandstone, and the figure of a Renaissance artist. It would be the ceiling that hosts the most recent botanical acquisitions, fresh monarda, mint, and chamomile, tied into bundles and hanging from available rafters out of reach of the harmful sun, while rambunctious and unapologetic houseplants appropriate the east-facing windows in search of its warming rays. Altogether, it's a feast not only for hungry eyes, but a feast for the nose especially, blessed and beseeched by diverse, insistent smells, the damp earth supporting nearly translucent aloe in painted pots, remnant clouds of dark coffee or golden ginger tea, any number of barely contained essential oils, and a bowl of oranges blaring loud olfactory signals directly to some primitive and highly responsive part of our animal brains. It's no less exotic than an appropriately appointed shaman's yurt in Tuva, or more so than a Kasbah herb stall. And yet, somehow, it's native only to the place where it nests, a part and a product of its bioregion, a collection point for substances and for significance, a site for the celebration of, the study of, and the dispensing of nature wisdom and our plant medicine. To an honored guest, just as to that wide-eyed inquiring child, such a room proffers the rudiments of an education in content as well as in form, a piquing of interest that could lead to an in-depth study or a personalized practice, or at least the motivating of us to ensure that we always envision and manifest a work, a study, and a reflection space that both mirrors and feeds who we really are and wholly are. a space that encourages our interests and our aims, our tendencies and our tastes. No matter how small one's home, there has to be room that can be repurposed to this need. There has to be a spot somewhere there, perhaps a subterranean basement ready for you to retrofit. Or how about a backyard tool shed that you might be able to open up with the installation of a few windows and then maybe insulate it against the cold. Such a place isn't a refuge from the distracting and the tasteless so much as it is a den of sustenance, providing the rooting medium and the nutrients necessary for our own optimum growth, an ideal microecosystem. Its earliest corollary is the ancient torch-lit cave, with separate secluded chambers, each individuated by poignant symbols painted in soot, painted in ochre and blood upon its walls, and likely marked for a focused interest in an intended or ritual purpose. A kind of place subsequently expressed in Native American medicine, in women's intriguing medicine huts, in the home laboratories of alchemists, of rebel scientists and over-enthused botanists, and in the inspirational studies, the special herbal rooms and inner sanctums that we ourselves must surely create. Venture and savor.